What's going on, congregation? It's Willie B here, and I'm here today with a book breakdown, lessons that I took from the book Fastlane, Millionaire, and what I think I can share with you guys to help you guys in your journey towards wealth, as well as being able to build more stability financially in you guys' day-to-day lives. So let's get right to it. Okay, so first up, the Fastlane Millionaire is a book that basically tells you about the approach to stop doing what you've been doing and not subscribing to the get rich slowly to gain wealth theory. Basically, MJ DeMarco is talking about how you don't have to take 40 years to put money into, some type of IRA or 401k, which you probably should be doing, but that's another story real quick. And how you can get financial fulfillment, but it's going to take a lot of work. Get rich quick does not mean get rich easy. So the first thing that I took from it was that you need to define the life you want to live. That means, what is living your best life to you? What is living your rich life? That's different for different people. MJ DeMarco started off telling us how when he was a kid going to the ice cream shop, somebody pulled up in a Lamborghini, and from then he wanted to know how that guy attained the amount of money that he needed where he could pay for a Lamborghini. And from there, he took different paths and different steps to get to his goal to be able to attain wealth. Now, for me, living my best life is actually not Lamborghinis. I actually don't give much care towards cars. Don't hate me out there. I got friends who love cars. But when I was in high school and when I was in college, I used to drive through the developmental areas and see like the large houses, some of them in cul-de-sacs. You ever pull up in one of those developments that may be called Foxtrot Reserve or Duckworth Hills, or just some weird name, or the Forest Lands or something, the Highland Hills. And I would just drive through, look at the houses, and just say, one day I'm gonna get there. One day I'm gonna get there. So to me, that's kind of like a living my rich life, living my best life type of thing. But you have to define the life you want to live. Another lesson that I got from this book is wealth is not an event, but a process. So, for instance, say you're taking a road trip, right? And if you don't get the oil checked, if you don't make sure all your fluids is topped off, if you don't make sure you got gas in the car, if you're not making sure you packed your clothes or the things you need for the actual trip, you're just worried about the event. You're just worried about getting there. You're just worried about, I can't wait till we get down to Miami, like rolling on 95, yes sir, and you just singing Pretty Ricky all the time. And that's not necessarily what you should be looking towards. You should take the steps in the journey to get to the event. So it's very important that we understand that getting rich quick is still not an overnight thing, and that overnight successes really happen over the course of a good amount of years. There's a difference between getting rich quickly and getting rich easy. And paying attention to your process, trusting your process, and trusting the journey and putting in the work is part of the actual process and not the event. Next thing that I learned from this book was living for the now is not a vibe. And we do that all the time. We may go out for drinks and whatnot, but the fact of the matter is, a lot of times we buy things that we can't afford with money that we don't have just to spend time with or be around people that don't even necessarily like us. And that's not living your best life. That's not living your rich life. You know what I'm saying? You're actually on the path to your worst future. Looking wealthy and managing money like the wealthy are two different things. A lot of people get caught up in buying the icons of wealth or trying to attain, whatever the image of wealth is, as opposed to seeing what are things that the wealthy people do and how can I put that a part of my life, you dig? So one thing you have to understand is you can't chase the image. Value was real and true. So a lot of people are going to say what's real and true. MJ DeMarco puts in this book that relationships, health, and freedom are what's real and what's true. And if you think about it, that's why so many people may be making less than you but are happier than you. They have good relationships. They are healthy, eating well, exercising, or just naturally doing the things that they're supposed to do health-wise. And they may have the freedom of choice, to spend time with their children or to spend time with their family or spend time with their significant other. Having those things are what's really important, and having the dopest car or the nicest house, even though you may want that, I know I want the nicest house, that isn't necessarily the definition of what wealth is and how that's just living for the now, trying to get the rich things instead of planning for the future. So take that into consideration. Another lesson that I learned is that between the sidewalk, the slow lane, and the fast lane, which MJ DeMarco kind of outlines in this book, the slow lane has a huge lack of leverage. The sidewalk is pretty much somebody who's always buying stuff with money they ain't got, always in debt, always looking for a come up, and that's pretty much self-explanatory. But until you kind of broke down the slow lane, I didn't really understand it. So this is kind of a breakdown of what he was talking about here. Basically, the slow lane operates on a principle kind of called uncontrollable limited leverage. It's essentially where you are confined to the extent of whatever your time and or your pay is. So the slow lane wealth is broken down between your job plus your market investments, or depending on how you want to put that, it's pretty much your salary, which is your annual salary, or however much you make an hour, plus the money that you're putting towards mutual funds, ETFs, and retirement, savings, etc. And the problem with this is that you cannot leverage there. You can't leverage your time. You can't magically work 30 hours a day. You can't magically work 10 days a week. You can't magically work 500 days a year. It's just not possible. So although you may be accruing some type of wealth or some type of money, over time, it's very slow. You're not gaining capital quickly. So take that in consideration when he's talking about control and leverage and how imperative it is to build a overall solid plan. If you don't control the wealth variables, you don't control your financial plan. Another lesson I took from the fast lane is pretty much what the fast lane was and how that was broken down. So that's kind of like two parts here. The fast lane is pretty much the controllable unlimited leverage, which is the principle that the fast lane is based upon. And the fast lane is pretty much filled with hard work, and it's filled with, bringing value to others. If you think about it, everything that makes a lot of money brings value to us. And if you're not bringing value to other people, then you're just in it to try and get some money, and you're not in it for the betterment of a situation, for a group of people, and you're not in it for bringing value or making people's lives better. And if you think about it, the most wealthy people make other people's lives better. How do we break down the fast lane, that controllable unlimited leverage? The fast lane wealth is your net profit plus your asset value. Now, your net profit is whatever your products and services are, whatever price you sell them, and how many of that product and or services you sell. And your asset value is your net profit multiplied by the industry multiplier. So that's contingent upon whatever industry you're in. Different industries are evaluated in different ways. So that's definitely something to consider. But he even breaks it down more and talks about fast lane seedlings, because I was reading this book thing and it's like, okay, so you're telling me to start a business, you dig? But what is the formulaic route to this? So he breaks it down that you've got rental systems, which is like real estate or royalties or licensing. Shout out to everybody that does music. Computer and software systems, so that's kind of like iPhone apps, Android apps, whatever. Content systems, which are books, courses, any type of teaching material that you may have. Distribution systems, franchising, chaining, getting products and services maybe from one place to another, that's distribution. And human resource systems, anything that pretty much involves hiring people to deal with other people, that's human resources. And I thought that really put everything in perspective and kind of put it on a step closer to the points that I felt he was making during this entire book. So if you take, for instance, Jeff Bezos, he's taken Amazon and helped scale it in multiple facets, in multiple directions. And that's how Amazon has actually gotten so big since the 90s. Another lesson that I got from this book was build your framework. And that doesn't necessarily mean, make a business plan. You don't actually always need a business plan, but it's to figure out the framework or the decisions and the risks that you're willing to take through your journey and through your process. The choices you make now have an effect down the road. And good choices and habits developed early actually manifest themselves in the future success. Bad choices and habits developed early manifest themselves into future self-sabotage and or treason. And it's kind of funny if you think about it. You should actually take calculated risks and intelligent risks, not moronic ones. And it's kind of like decisions we make every day. Like a moronic risk is one that has an unlimited downside and a limited upside. And an intelligent risk is one that has an unlimited upside, which is the long term, and limited downside, short term. And I feel like a lot of times people are just looking for a quick come up. And that quick come up is actually a moronic decision because, trying to chase after a quick come up has a limited upside, but across the down the road, you're gonna end up taking an L. And a lot of times people who take short-term L's to get long-term dubs, that's really the road you want to travel on. That's the road that you really want to get hip to, because it's saying that I'm willing to endure whatever the negativity is now because I know over the long term there's going to be growth. And long term, again, doesn't have to be 30 to 40 years. Sometimes long term is 3 to 5 years or 5 to 10 years. But it's up to you to determine what's your best life, what's your rich life, the risks that you're willing to take, and how much work you're willing to put in. Another acronym that he has in his book is, NEXT, and not NEXT, but NECST. So the next lesson I really learned was understanding what's next. And those 5 points are need, entry, control, it's scale, and it's time. So understanding need is, are you actually solving a need and or bringing value to others? Because the amount of lives that you impact is almost contingent upon, or the money that you make is almost contingent upon the amount of lives that you impact. You see what I'm saying? So entry, which is, is the barrier of entry high? That's the E. If it's something that you can really just put like $50 in, it's like, oh, you got your home-based business and, you're ready to go. That might not be the move, you know what I'm saying? Like, understanding how high the barrier of entry is, or do you have to attain skills, or is this going to take actually a good amount of work, instead of, just trying to get a quick come up. Like, this ain't installing an illegal cable, y'all. So understanding the E and the barrier of entry means that just because everybody is doing it, doesn't necessarily mean it's the right way. And a lot of times it means it's the wrong way. C is control. If you don't control every facet of your business system, then you don't really have control. And I'm not saying doing everything yourself. Control is not doing everything yourself. Control is having a say or being able to move and shift the different facets of your business system and having the control to do so when you need to do so. Scale is the amount of people you can possibly reach. And that is imperative to being able to get more profit. Because if there's a cap on your reach, there's a cap on your net profit. And your net profit in the Fastlane equation that I mentioned to you guys earlier, that's very, very valuable in that Fastlane wealth. Time, the T part in next, is the development of that business system and your ability to step away from it and for it to operate autonomously. A lot of times we build things or we get involved in things and it requires so much of our work that it's pretty much we've created our own business to work a 9 to 5, when you should be able to create business systems and create different types of wealth generating systems that don't require all of your time all of the time. So take that in consideration when you're thinking about what's next. And I'm going to delve into these 3 Fastlane interstates that he mentions, which are the internet, how you can have a mass appeal, innovation, creating something new, household items, food, health and vitality products, personal clothing items. It's so many different ways to innovate, and a lot of times it's not even super duper innovation. You're taking something that's already dope and then turning it into something that's doper. You see what I'm saying? And intentional iteration, franchising, chaining. The last lesson I really learned in this book is mind your business and be yourself. So you have to have your own unique selling proposition, and you have to understand the facets of your business system and how they work with each other. He makes an allusion towards chess. I've never played chess before, but he mentions that the king is your execution, your queen is marketing, your bishop is customer service, your knight is your product, the rook is the people, and the pawn is your ideas. And so you can have great ideas, and you can have a decent product, but if your customer service, your marketing, your execution is not on point, you really have to be running on all cylinders for all this to work. And as far as getting your message out there and getting your product out there and getting into the eyes and hands of the right people, you have to market in a way that's polarizing, he mentions, or a way of marketing that arouses emotions, a way of marketing that is risque, sex still sells, y'all, and a way to encourage interaction and or be unconventional. So the biggest things that I really got out of this book, you see, is that you have to start your journey, you have to trust your process, and you have to not pay attention to the noise and be focused in on how you can get better and how you can bring more value. That's pretty much my breakdown of MJ DeMarco's book, Fastlane, Millionaire. If you like what you heard, if you like what you saw, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification so you can have notifications come your way with the next video. And if you like the track that's playing right now, it is definitely No Brains by Neon Vice, a dope group. I'm going to leave a link in the description. Check out their music. So dope. Why Her is on all DSPs right now.